My name is Nicole Bendley, and I want to thank you so much for joining me today. Today, I will be sharing with you a proven and powerful 5-step process for you to use within your organizations to dramatically improve the performance of your teams, to ensure that your teams are not only focused on improving results, but are focused on improving how they work together to achieve results. So today is all about providing you with a clear process for launching powerful, sustainable, and needs-based team development initiatives. You're going to walk away with an understanding of the keys to a successful team performance process. You'll walk away really understanding what most team building, quote-unquote, processes lack, and the reasons why they often don't produce sustainable change, and the reasons why people will leave a session all ramped up but then don't follow through on the commitments to action. You'll gain tools and techniques for ensuring that your team development initiatives actually produce long-term results and are sustainable. So you'll gain tools and techniques for affecting positive and lasting behavior change. That's really the goal at the end of the day. When we're talking about improving team development, we're talking about, improving team performance, we're talking about changing behavior. And to boot, you're also going to get tools and techniques to create healthier climates and more cohesion within your teams and your organization. And this last piece is really critical to the sustainability piece of a team development initiative. You'll gain tools to create greater ownership and accountability for the team's effectiveness, and creating that accountability at the team level and the individual level, so the responsibility for team performance doesn't just rest on your shoulders as the HR professional, okay? So this is a high-level overview of what you're going to walk away with by the end of today's session. Now, before we get into all of the details and all of the great content for today, I want to start by sharing a little bit about who I am and who my company is, so that you have the confidence that the content and the tools and the advice I'm sharing with you is founded in solid research and experience and evidence. So my name is Nicole Bendley. I am the president of Connect, and we have been helping organizations to tap into the very best of their teams and leaders for over 25 years now. And we do that through the development of team tools, customized team and leadership assessments, and a number of team development and leadership processes and consulting services that we offer. And so we work in a number of industries, from financial to manufacturing to healthcare, and we have had a number of books published over the years focused primarily on improving leadership performance and team performance. Our most recent book is Improving Healthcare Team Performance, the 7 Requirements for Excellence in Patient Care. And that book provides healthcare leaders with a better understanding of what exceptional teamwork in healthcare looks like, and the tools to turn that into action. We are also the creators of the Team Fitness Tool and the Healthcare Team Fitness Tool, which is an online tool that gives you everything you need to tap into the very best of your teams. It gives you everything you need to immediately launch a customized, targeted team development process. And you can learn more about this tool at our website. So that's a little bit about us. So all of our work, everything that you'll be getting today, is founded in our 25 years of not only experience with teams and leaders around the world, but the research we have conducted both in healthcare and in private industry around understanding what high-performance teamwork looks like. And so all of the tools that you'll be gaining today have been tested by teams, by leaders, and by us, and have found to work. So what will you need for the next hour? You're going to need 2 key things. You're going to need a pen and paper, because I will be sharing a whole lot of information with you in a very short period of time. So take down your notes. And you will also need to focus, right? So treat this next hour as really a gift to you, right? We as leaders are running 100 miles an hour all day long and are faced with so many distractions that can take us away from being very intentional and present in the moment. And so I suggest that you turn off your email, close down your Outlook, shut your door if you have one, and turn off the phone, turn off the ringer, and really focus on the content and the experience of this next hour and get the most of it. Treat it as your own personal hour of development. Okay? So today we're talking about the 5 steps to high-performance teams. So if you apply these 5 steps that I'll be sharing with you today, you'll not only have a much stronger structure and process to your team development initiatives, but you'll find that your teams and your leaders will be far more engaged. Your team development initiative will be much more focused on the real needs of your teams, and they will enable action on the part of your team members, an action that is sustained, so that they are actually taking action to improve their performance, and they sustain that over time. So I'll be walking through these 5 steps with each of you over the next hour. So let's start with the first step. The first step is very simple, but there are a few, sub-steps to this. It's all about getting clear. Getting clear on exactly what you want to achieve as a result of this particular team development initiative. So we can look at team development from 2 perspectives. We can look at it from the individual team that we're working with, or we can look at it from an organizational-wide perspective. Okay, and we're going to look at it from both perspectives today, from a one-on-one between you and the team that you're supporting, and from an organizational-wide perspective. And this quote here from Alice in Wonderland is one of my favorite quotes. Would you tell me, please, which way ought I to go from here? That depends on a good deal on where you want to get to. I don't much care where. Then it doesn't matter which way you go. So one of the things that many team building initiatives lack is that clear focus and a clear objective or multiple objectives with respect to the purpose of it. Many team building initiatives or team development initiatives are a reaction, a knee-jerk reaction to perhaps a leader coming to you, the HR professional, saying, help me, my team's not working well, I need help. And because we want to help and because we have very little time, we often react. And that reaction is maybe not focused on the real needs of the team and perhaps doesn't take as big picture of a view as it should. So by getting clear, the very first step in this process, I mean a few things. I mean, first of all, knowing exactly what you want to achieve, what the team needs to achieve, what the leader wants to achieve as a result of this team development process. Okay, what's the purpose? Just improving team performance or improving how we communicate or improving how we treat one another, that's pretty broad. So we want to get as specific as we can, and we're going to drill into that a little bit more in a bit. So knowing what you want to achieve, knowing how you will achieve it, okay, and this how piece is this 5 steps that I'm going to share with you. Okay, so we're covering that today. And then finally, and this piece is another piece that's often missing, okay, is knowing how to measure the achievement of it, knowing how you're going to know whether or not you've achieved your goals. And so the act of measuring is a powerful piece of the process, which we've included in the 5 steps, which we'll talk about in a little bit, okay? So getting clear means knowing what you want to achieve, how you will achieve it, and knowing how to measure it. So let's start with the first piece of knowing what you want to achieve. So there are 2 components to this piece. It's first of all, what you want to achieve is developing a high-performance team, right? That's the first goal. You want to improve the team's performance, which is why they're participating in this process in the first place. However, that general statement isn't good enough. It's not specific enough. It's not measurable enough, right? Or it's not measurable, period. And so in order to know that you've improved performance, or even in order to know how to improve a team's performance, you must first define what a high-performance team looks like. You must first understand the behaviors and practices critical to a high-performance team if you want to elevate that performance. So a good portion of today, we're defining that for you based on our research and the evidence that we've found. So we'll share that with you. The second piece of getting clear is taking it a step up. Is absolutely your main priority is improving the performance of the team, right, and affecting real behavior change and understanding what those behaviors are that need to be demonstrated within the team. So that's the first piece. The second piece is what aspects of the organization's or team's performance do you want this team initiative to impact? So are you trying to improve the culture? Are you trying to improve morale? Is it retention or sick days that you want to change? Are you looking to improve your employee engagement results or your employee satisfaction results? Improve client or customer satisfaction? Or if you work in healthcare, are we trying to improve patient safety and the quality of care? Or improve the staff experience in the delivery of that care? So getting very clear not only on what you need to improve within the team itself as far as the behaviors, but also understanding that the impact that you want that behavior change to have within the team and the organization. So that at the end of the day, you can also show the ROI. You can show the bottom line impact that your initiative is having not only on the team, but on the actual results and the performance of the organization, which is critical. It's critical to show that, to elevate your value, your immense value that you bring to the organization, right? We want you to have that evidence as well to be able to show the leaders that you support and the powers that be within your organization that team development and human resource management has a significant impact on the performance of the organization and the bottom line. And to do that, it's important to really look for and understand exactly what it is you're trying to influence within the organization from a performance perspective and capture that data. Okay, so getting clear on what you want to measure up front and what you want to achieve. Now, getting back to that first goal around achieving, really defining what a high-performance team looks like, that's your first step in getting clear, right? In order for a team to become better than it is, the goals to be achieved must be clearly understood, right? You, leaders, and their team members, you all usually have ideas as to what could be better in the team that you're supporting, right? The leader, like I said, probably comes to you and says, oh, there's a lot of conflict in my team, and I don't know how to manage it, and morale is low, I need your help, right? It's because we're not communicating well, or it's because we restructured a couple of months ago and people are feeling really low, come help me, right? But few people, however, have very specific knowledge of what is required for high-performance teamwork. So even when a team is consciously trying to improve, so perhaps the team is really trying to improve how it communicates, but if they're not conscious of all the other elements that impact their performance, they may be missing those elements, right? Critical aspects that may be blocking their team's performance can be overlooked. So unless we really understand and know what a high-performance team looks like and the behaviors and practices essential to a team's performance, unless we know those, we won't be able to focus on them, and critical aspects may be missed in our efforts to support that team. And so what I want to do for you today is define what a high-performance team looks like. And to give you a little bit of background, we've been around helping teams and leaders for over 25 years now, and we have consistently asked ourselves this one question through our research. And that is, what is the difference between teams that achieve exceptional results with ease and those that keep up? And what we found through our research is that teams that consistently perform at a high level don't have some magical power. It's not luck. They don't work harder or longer hours than teams that struggle. But what we found is that these teams that perform at a high level consistently and easily all demonstrate similar behaviors and practices consistently, and they make these behaviors and practices a priority. And teams that struggle to keep up or experience conflict or experience poor results are teams that don't demonstrate these behaviors and practices. And so we found that, that teams who demonstrate these 7 elements, which I will review with you in a little bit, are teams that perform consistently at a high level. And we have also found that organizations that introduce these elements and the behaviors behind them to their teams and create a dialogue about them and simply ask the question, what do we need to do to improve our cohesiveness? Or what do we need to do to improve our innovative thinking? And simply start to ask those questions and focus the team on those behaviors that drive cohesion, that drive a healthy climate, etc., then we see a dramatic increase in team effectiveness and cohesion and climate and all of the good things that are essential to a team's performance. But the trick is to start that dialogue and to create a framework for your team members to focus on and leverage so that they too can understand what a high-performance team looks like, and not only understand it, but look for those behaviors and become accountable to them. And so we define a high-performance team as one that demonstrates each of these elements. And each of these elements is measured by 5 behaviors and practices. So there are a total of 35 behaviors and practices. And I am going to review a number of them with you today and give you the ability to assess your team against these. Okay? So teams that focus on these 7 elements and make them a priority and take accountability for them, achieve better results with less struggle. And so the process that I'm sharing with you today will enable you to do that. Okay? Now, at the end of the day, you may choose a different team model, and that's absolutely fine. This 5-step process works on any team model that you may be using. You may have your own within your organization, and that's fine as well. Today, we're focusing on these 7 elements, but just keep in mind you can, plug and play your own team model into it as well. Okay? So as a summary on getting clear on what a high-performance team looks like, in order to strengthen team effectiveness within a team or across your organization, you must first have a very clear understanding of what high-performing teams look like. And each and every one of your teams and the leaders that you support must have the same understanding. And the beauty of that is that then not just random teams here and there are focused on it. When you roll this out across your organization and have everybody focused on these behaviors and practices, you'll see culture shifting within your organization because everybody is focused on the same priorities as far as how we work together and the kind of culture we want to create together. Okay. Now, getting clear also means knowing how you're going to achieve those goals, right? So this 5 steps that I'm going to be showing you. And then finally, knowing how to measure the impact, including team assessments, surveys, feedback. So we're going to review that in a little bit as well. Now, the other aspect of measuring is capturing organizational data that already exists within your organization. So upon the launch of a team development initiative, you want to gather benchmarks. So if your goal is to improve employee engagement, make sure you have some employee engagement stat scores available so that you can compare right over time. So gather that organizational data that you might need. First of all, get clear on what it is that you want to impact, and then look for the data to measure that impact. Okay? Measurement is key, like I said. So that's about getting clear. Now, the second step, so that's your first step, getting clear. The second step is building commitment. And by building commitment, I mean building commitment at the leadership level. So again, we can look at this from two perspectives. We can look at it from the perspective of working one-on-one with a team, or we can look at it from the perspective of launching an organizational-wide initiative, right? Regardless, you need that commitment, that buy-in from your leader that you're working with or from the multiple leaders across the organization. And so I have a question for you. I'd like you to think about the leaders that you work with or that you support within your organization, and even think about a leader that you're supporting in a team development process. And ask yourself this question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how committed are your leaders to improving the effectiveness of their teams? And come to a number. How committed do you believe they are to improving the effectiveness of their teams? And because in order for team development to be a success, there absolutely must be a commitment from the team's leaders to make it a success. And by commitment, I mean dedicating resources, dedicating their own brain power, dedicating their attention, their time, their participation to the process. Because if they don't dedicate that, then the process will not be sustainable. Okay? That's when we see team building initiatives fail, when there is a lack of commitment from the leaders, when there is a lack of buy-in from the leaders to give what is needed to the process. Because at the end of the day, this is a shared responsibility, a three-way shared responsibility, right? You as the HR professional own the process, right? You own the process, you own the strategy as far as how to improve the team's performance. But actually doing the work and affecting real behavior change, that rests on the leader and the team members. Okay, they own a bulk of that responsibility. And without the commitment from the leader, it's just not going to happen. And so if you feel your leaders are at less than a 10, then they're not committed. Either you're in it or you're not. There's no in between. And so the next step is, once you're clear, okay, you first of all need to be very clear on the purpose and what you want to achieve as with respect to this team development initiative, and have to be very clear on what the leader wants, okay? And then you need to engage in a dialogue and build buy-in from the leader's perspective to ensure that they understand that team development is not an event. It's not a one-time workshop. It's actually a process, right? Because that's another mistake that we see, is that people treat team building as an event as opposed to ongoing work. And team development takes work. And so commitment looks like your leader dedicating time and resources, participating in the process, role modeling, right, the behaviors and practices that they expect from their team members, providing feedback and holding the team accountable. So there are a number of things that leaders must do and commit to doing in order for a team development initiative to be a success. And so, for example, when we roll out an organizational-wide team fitness process, okay, that's based on our team fitness assessment, we bring the leaders together and launch it and clarify expectations and build the excitement around the process. Right? And so what we're sharing when we bring the leaders together, whether we're bringing a group of leaders together or whether we're meeting one-on-one with the leader, is we're clearly describing what's in it for them, the leader, okay? What's in it for their team, what's in it for their bottom line, for their clients, for the patients. Example, if you're in healthcare, for your patients. So be prepared for this. So you want to sit down and have a conversation with your leaders and be prepared to answer these questions so that you're building that buy-in. So you should have all of these answers in the getting clear phase. That's what getting clear is about, right? Getting clear on what exceptional teamwork looks like, getting clear on the needs of the leader and the team, getting clear on the impact to the organization, and then sharing that with your leaders. Right? So when you're managing your leader's expectations in the building commitment step, which is step 2, first of all, you want to outline the purpose of the team development initiative, right? So they may have come to you saying, help, help, my team's in conflict. Help, help, we've got low morale, right? These are real issues that leaders are dealing with and many leaders don't have the tools to deal with them. And they come to you. So then you come back to them and you outline your strategy, which is this 5-step process, right? So outline the purpose of the initiative, the goals that you want to achieve, which you've identified in the Getting Clear step, and share the what's in it for them and their team. Then this is an opportunity for you to share at a high level the 7 elements, which I'm going to be reviewing with you. And because every leader that we share these 7 elements with, they immediately relate, okay? Oh, that's my team. Yes, it's the climate. That's where we really need to focus in on. Or, you know what, we really have an issue managing change. Absolutely. So it's very relatable. So you can start to talk to your leaders from a team perspective and begin to educate them on what a high-performance team looks like. Then review the 5-step process and discuss the commitment that is needed from them in order for this to be a success. Because what we also see is not enough time in the preparation phase of launching the team development initiative, and not enough time clarifying the role of the leader. So taking time to clarify that with the leader is essential to the success of the process. And enabling the leader to prep their team and to engage their team in the process up front and introduce the process to their team effectively, and letting the team know the why and what we're all going to do and building the buy-in. Or maybe that rests with you. So building that commitment from the leadership perspective, but also from the team's perspective, and how this process is introduced greatly impacts the engagement in the process. Okay, so managing those expectations and building commitment. So for those of you who are familiar with the Kurt Lewin change model, right, that unfreeze, transition, refreeze model, that unfreeze phase of change management, the priming the pump, so to speak, getting people ready to experience change and implement it, that applies to team development as well. And we need to prime that pump with the leaders and the team so that they're ready to participate and engage as full members of the team as fully committed members of the team development process. Okay? So that was step 2, right? Building commitment. Now step 3, now you're actually beginning the team development intervention, or the team intervention, or team development process, or however you refer to it in your organization, right? The first piece of that initiative is the assessment piece. And basically what you're assessing here is how well does the team demonstrate the factors critical to team performance. So if we go back to step 1, you want to get clear on what a high-performance team looks like. And then when you launch the initiative, you want to know how well your team is living up to those elements of a high-performance team. Okay, so assessing is critical. And why do we want to assess? Well, there are a number of reasons for assessing. And I'm going to be giving you a tool to assess as well, okay? So why assess? First of all, it's aside from introducing the team to the team process, it's their first opportunity to engage in the team development initiative, right? And with the right team assessment that's asking the right questions, team members actually feel a sense of relief and excitement when they complete it. Okay, that's the feedback that we get from teams who complete the team fitness test, the 7 elements of a high-performance team, is that A, they experience relief because this really reflects my team. You know, this is exactly what we need to work on, okay? And excitement because it's evidence that things are actually going to change, and the organization and their leader is actually focused on their needs. And the assessment is asking them for their perspective on issues related to their particular team. And it engages them in the process right up front. Secondly, and this is critical to your work, is it identifies the specific team needs. Okay, powerful team development initiatives are highly targeted and focus the team's attention on leveraging the team's strengths and on addressing the opportunities for improvement. Okay, and identifying those is key to the success of your team initiative and to your team's ability to improve their performance. It enables action, right? So if we don't know what's working and what's not, we can't take action to improve how we perform. Okay, so assessing enables action as long as you use the results. You know, I'm often asked if we should assess. And I answer with a question. Well, how are you going to use the results of the assessment? Because if you're not going to use the results to create a dialogue and to enable action to use the results to affect change, then don't measure. Because we see in organizations so many assessments. We have culture assessments. We have employee engagement assessments, employee satisfaction assessments. You know, so many assessments are going around the organization, and then we experience employees who just disengage from them. Because oftentimes organizations just don't have the time to effectively use the data and share the results back in a meaningful way with individuals and teams and empower them to use that information to affect change within their own department. And so people disengage and feel like this is a waste of my time. So when you use an assessment that is specific to a team, and when you actually use the results to create a dialogue and to enable the team to take action, that's when we see the magic happening, right? And that's when we see more engagement back into the performance improvement process. Also, the act of simply completing the assessment builds awareness of the behaviors required within a team. And it's obviously an essential tool to measure progress and set benchmarks. And we found, too, is that people change what is measured. So if the team knows that, for example, every 6 months we're going to be measuring our team performance, people will be more focused on demonstrating those behaviors. And not only will we be measuring them, right, we're going to be talking about the results. So we're not just measuring and then the data goes into some magic warehouse in the sky. We are bringing them back to the team and talking about them for the purpose of working better together. So the next question is, what are you assessing? Well, you want to assess the behaviors and practices essential to a high-performance team, and you want to assess the impact that the team development process has on the organization. So the second bullet there is your organizational data that you just want to gather and track and see the change over time. And the first piece, the behaviors and practices essential to a high-performance team, that's your team assessment, okay? So you can design your own assessment. You can use the 7 elements that I'm going to be reviewing with you, okay, as a basis to assess your team. You can purchase a third-party assessment, and you can use existing organizational data. So I'm going to right now walk through the 7 elements of a high-performance team with you. I'm going to walk through the team fitness test with you. And at the end of this session, you're going to gain access. I'm going to give you a website to go to access the descriptions of each of the 7 elements, along with survey items that you can include, and additional team tools that you can use throughout your team development initiative. Okay? But right now, I'll just review it at a high level with you so you get an understanding of what's being measured. So the 7 elements, as I said, are these, and we're going to review each of them together, okay? So I want you to think about a team that you're supporting right now or your own team that you work in. And as we go through each element, I want you to ask yourself, does my team demonstrate these behaviors and practices? And just do a very basic, rudimentary assessment of yes, no, or sometimes, okay? Our team assessment is based on a 5-point Likert scale. Okay, we have one for healthcare and one for non-healthcare. Okay, the elements that we're viewing today are the non-healthcare elements, and then the ones for healthcare are very specific to patient care and staff and needs within a healthcare environment. So today we're looking at the non-healthcare version. Okay? So the first element is a healthy climate, and this really measures how team members feel about the way the team functions, right? Do we trust one another? Am I proud to be a member of this team? Do I feel good about being a member of this team? Do we treat one another with equal respect? So a couple of the items that measure this element, and here's what I'd like you to answer, is do your team members foster an environment of openness and trust? Yes, no, or sometimes. Do team members manage conflict effectively? Yes, no, or sometimes. Okay? If you answered sometimes or no, then the health of your climate within your team could use some work. And so this measures, each element measures 5 behaviors and practices. So if you want to apply this to your team, you can use the general description of each element, these 2 items, and then create additional behaviors that you want to measure that you believe, based on the culture you're trying to achieve, will measure climate. Okay? But we're giving you 2 here, and we have additional ones on the website as well that I'll be sending to you. So the health of the climate is obviously critical. If the team's climate is unhealthy, that's the place you want to start. Because if there isn't trust, if there isn't respect, change, they're not going to be able to manage change. They won't be innovative. They won't be cohesive. They won't communicate effectively. So this is where you want to start. It's the foundation of a high-performance team. The next element is cohesiveness. And cohesiveness measures the degree to which your team is pulling together in the same direction. So do they have agreed upon goals and objectives and priorities and values? Are people pulling together in the same direction, or are they pulling in different directions and wasting time on tasks that will not directly lead them to their goal? And are they demonstrating consistent values and beliefs with respect to how we work together to achieve that goal, right? And so here are some questions for you. Our mandate, goals, and objectives are clear and agreed to? Yes, no, or sometimes. If we were each asked to list our team priorities, our list would be very similar. Yes, no, or sometimes. Okay? So these are some examples of the items that are included on the Team Fitness Test assessment. But again, you can use this as a guide to develop your own assessment, or you can use these questions, or you can use our Team Fitness Test, which is found on our website there. Okay? So I want to ask you a few questions around cohesiveness. I want to give you an example of an exercise that you can use with your own team to strengthen cohesiveness. Okay? So if you feel cohesiveness is weak, if you answered no or sometimes, okay, then ask this question. What is our organization's success statement? If you don't know your organization's success statement and your team members don't know their success statement, right, then they will not be pulling in the same direction. Likely they are focused on tasks that are not directly contributing to the organization's goal. And they will be less engaged and less committed to the organization if they really don't understand the organization's purpose. Okay? And if you don't understand it as an individual, then clearly there's a need within the organization as a whole to improve cohesion and improve connection to how the organization defines success. Now, what's your team's success statement? If your team doesn't have a success statement, they will not be cohesive, right? And by success statement, I mean, what are we working towards to achieve? So that's the place you want to start as well if your team if there's a lack of cohesion within your team. And then I have a question for you. When was the last time you talked about your team's vision and values with those you lead? And the answer you're looking for is today. So if you want to improve your team's cohesion, A, ensure they're focused on the organization's goal. B, ensure they understand the team's specific goal. And C, create a dialogue every day by engaging your teams in conversations about vision and values and what they're working towards and how they're going to work towards it. So here's a tip to strengthen cohesiveness within your team. So at your next team meeting, ask your team members to write down what they believe the team's main goal is and what they believe the team's 3 key priorities for achieving the goal are. Okay? And ask each person to write it down on their own. Then ask them to share their responses, and their responses will be quite telling. So if you don't want to do an entire assessment, you can simply ask the questions. What's our goal? What are our priorities? And if they're aligned, then your team is likely cohesive. If they are not aligned, then they're pulling in different directions, and some work is needed there. Okay? The next element is group work skills, and this is basically measuring our ability to work together in a meeting. You know, we spend a ridiculous amount of time in meetings, and more often than not, they're unproductive. And so this element measures a team's ability to make decisions in a meeting, to communicate, to come to consensus, to stay on track, and to use their time effectively, right, so that we're productive. So here are 2 questions. We leave our meetings with a sense of accomplishment, yes, no, or sometimes. And we have effective consensus reaching skills. Okay? In the tool that you're going to be gaining after this session, you will have an overview of the team fitness test that you're getting right here, but you'll have an additional item within each element. So you're actually going to be getting 3 items for each element. And the actual team fitness test measures 5. So you're getting almost the entire assessment. Okay? So the next element that we're measuring is team members' contribution, and this is a big one. Team members' contribution measures the degree to which team members contribute to the team's performance, right? Are team members proactively sharing ideas? Are team members proactively doing what needs to be done without waiting to be asked? Are they looking for new and better ways to improve performance and recommending those, right? Taking accountability. This is about accountability, right? So here are the questions. Do team members take the initiative to do what needs to be done without being asked? And do team members look for opportunities to improve performance? If you answered a no or sometimes, then chances are there's room for improvement here. The next element is change compatibility. And as you know, I'm sure you're experiencing this within your organization, is that teams are now being faced with an overwhelming amount of change at a very fast pace, right? Things are changing much more quickly and at a higher volume. And so a team's ability to manage change and be responsive to change and not resist it and fight against it all the time is a key factor in their ability to achieve results. Teams that respond to change openly and productively are much more effective than teams that resist it. And so here are 2 questions. Do team members demonstrate a positive attitude towards change, even if they don't agree with it? And then do team members look for ways to make change work, regardless of whether or not they agree with it? Or are your team members fighting against it, complaining about it, resisting it? Now, when your teams complete this assessment, this really identifies where you and your team can focus on first, right? What are our strengths, and then where do we need to focus our attention in order to elevate our performance? So if we have a strong climate and we're cohesive and we're, doing what we need to do and sharing the load, but you know what, we have a whole lot of change coming and we're not reacting well to it. And that's really what's causing our lack of communication, our low morale. You'd identify that through this assessment. And so if a leader came to you and said, my team is, poor morale, we may be focusing on the wrong things. This assessment allows you to hone in on exactly what the team needs to do to improve. The next element is shared leadership, and this really looks at whether team members are empowered to make decisions. Are team members empowered to solve issues on their own? Do we effectively share the load? Do we share decision making? Or is the leader making all of the decisions and not asking for input and not really engaging their team members in the leadership of the team. So here are two questions. Do team members seek and use input from team members on a regular basis? And do team leaders empower team members to solve problems on their own? Okay. And then finally, innovative thinking. This is also key. Well, all of them are key to a team's success. Okay, they're all interrelated as well. But innovative thinking, what we mean by innovative thinking is not a team's ability to come up with the next tablet to rival the iPad. It's a team's ability to be open to ideas, to think differently, to look for new and better ways of doing things, little things, right? It's about improving how we work together. It's improving how we deliver our service to our clients or our patients, right? And so it's about challenging the status quo and not being okay with complacency or mediocrity, right? It's about evolving. So team members challenge one another's thinking, and in our team, risk-taking is encouraged. So if you answered no or sometimes to those two questions, then there's some work that can be done around strengthening your team's ability to be innovative, to provide one another with feedback, to challenge thinking and challenge assumptions. So those are the 7 elements of a high-performance team. And just to recap, what you want to assess are those behaviors and practices. So whether you have your own team model internally that you use and have defined team performance, you want to be sure that you're measuring that. Or you can use the assessment that you'll be getting at the end of this session, or you can purchase a third-party assessment. And some questions that you want to ask around third-party assessments is, A, is it reliable? Okay, so our team fitness test has been tested for its reliability, and most assessments are, but you want to double check. The second question is very important. Is it a team 360? And by 360, I mean, are the questions written in such a way that team members are being asked to assess the team and how the team is performing against behaviors? Because there are other assessments out there that are very powerful but measure different things. They measure team member personality traits and preferences. And what you end up with at the end of the day is a profile of personalities and preferences, as opposed to how the team is performing around the behaviors and practices essential to team effectiveness. Okay, so you want to be sure it's behavior focused and that it is really a team 360. Okay? Does the tool that you're purchasing enable action? So you really want to be sure, if you're purchasing an assessment, that you're not just getting an assessment, that you're getting tools to create a dialogue around the results so that you are enabling action. And do the questions that are being asked and the elements that are being measured, do they match the culture you're trying to achieve within your organization? Okay? So you want to ask those questions. So certainly with the team fitness test and these 7 elements, if you want to use it, be sure that it matches the culture that you want to achieve. And I've never met an organization that it doesn't match, but it's an important question to ask. Okay? So the next step is, the 4th step, I should say, is engaging your team in the process and taking action. So you want to now use those team assessment results and launch a team development session, okay? And you want to bring your team together as soon as possible. So if you have launched a team assessment, give your team 2 weeks to complete it, and then come back together, I would say within a week, 2 at the most, of them completing the assessment to talk about the results and identify next steps. Immediacy is key so that you maintain that momentum. So I'm going to walk through a structure of your session for you here. And at the end of today's webinar, you're going to be gaining exercises to use and a facilitator guide to use for this session, okay? So obviously, you're all professional facilitators. You know, introduce the purpose of the session. Then you want to engage them in a dialogue around the 7 elements of a high-performance team. So share the 7 elements with your team, and you'll have the content to do that with the tools that we're giving you. Then you want to share the team assessment results, okay? But share them at a high level. And it's not about you telling them what they're doing well and what they're doing wrong. It's simply just sharing the feedback that they've given you through the completion of the assessment. It's not your assessment of the team, it's their assessment of themselves. And then this next piece is key. You want them to talk about what the results mean to them and why their strengths are so important to their team's effectiveness and how they show up on a daily basis, and just as importantly, what the growth opportunities mean and what will be the impact to the team, to the client, to the patient at the end of the day if they don't take action to improve upon those growth opportunities. So in the facilitator guide that you're getting at the end of the session, you're going to have an exercise to take your team through that piece, the creating dialogue piece, so that they can work through their own assessment results together so that it's meaningful to them. This next piece is key and will require a little bit of legwork on your end prior to launching this assessment, launching this session. So you want to, once they've talked about their results, you want to lead them through at least one exercise that speaks to their particular needs. So for example, if your team has identified that cohesiveness is weak, right, and they've talked about it in the previous step in generating dialogue, you now want to lead them through an exercise that enables them to actually improve their cohesiveness. You want to dedicate time in this session on helping them to improve the areas that they've identified need improving. Okay? So I am giving you at the end of the session 2 exercises, one that strengthens climate, one that strengthens cohesiveness. Okay? So that should you have teams that need to improve in those areas, you can use them. Okay? But it's key to dedicate a piece of your leadership session directly to the team's needs. And then always end with the team identifying commitments to action. So now what? What are the agreements? What do we agree to do between now and 2 months from now or on a regular basis to improve our cohesiveness, to improve our climate? What do we agree to do from a team perspective and at the individual level? So this is the outline of your team development session. Okay? Now, what's often missing in team development sessions is, first of all, enough dialogue and relevance so that team members take the time to really ensure that what we're learning here is relevant to us and applying it to their needs, and also exercises that speak specifically to the needs that the team has identified. So that's A, why you need to assess so you understand the needs, and B, why you want to design a targeted assessment or a targeted session so that it's relevant to your team so that they're more likely to sustain their commitments long after the workshop. Okay? So here are some examples of commitments to action, or here's an exercise to build them, I should say. Okay? Simply ask the question, in order to strengthen our team's climate, we need to capture responses and then capture their responses, right? So they're going to come up with some team agreements, so to speak, as far as what we need to do to strengthen climate or cohesiveness. Okay? And here's an example of a client. We agree to wear the team hat, we agree to show appreciation, etc. So you want to end your session with some specific commitments to action as far as what the team is going to do. Okay. Now, our Team Fitness tool that you can find on the teamfitnesstool.com website allows you to do all of those things, each of those steps. So if you want a tool that will automate this process for you, the Team Fitness tool will do it. But we are providing you with the Team Fitness Facilitator Guide, the 7 elements of a high-performance team PowerPoint slide, and the team exercise to identify strengths and growth opportunities. So you're going to get this in a few minutes. Okay? And the Team Fitness tool, if you want to learn about it, it will do all of the work for you. It will assess your team. It will provide you with the clear and actionable results so that you can hone in on your team's strengths and growth opportunities. And it provides you with all of the curriculum. So if your team identifies climate, cohesiveness, and change as their 3 weakest areas, you'll have team modules, facilitator guides, PowerPoint slides, handouts to strengthen those 3 areas for that team. If you're working with another team and they have different needs, you'll have a set of curriculum targeting that team's needs, okay, all in this online tool. So if you want to automate this 5-step process, you can do so with the Team Fitness tool. Now, there's 2 last steps, which is enabling team action, right? Actually, this should say step 5. One team session isn't going to produce lasting change, right? Team performance will improve with consistent action, feedback, and team dialogue. So what your team needs is the right tools and techniques to enable action. So I want to give those to you right now. So one way to enable action and enable sustainability, right? So your team, you've completed the team session and you want to be sure your team members are going to be taking action and maintaining the momentum from the session. One way that we have found to really work is creating champion teams. So taking a couple of people from the team who will own the process. So you are now, as the HR professional, sharing the ongoing team development process with members of the team. Okay? They are the ones who will use team activities that you give them within team meetings to strengthen their cohesion or strengthen their climate, right? They will be the ones looking for opportunities to reinforce and communicate successes. And they will be the ones to dedicate time in team meetings to coming back to reviewing the commitments to action. And it's essential that you give teams the tools they need. So give your teams exercises that are aimed at strengthening the areas they have identified as being weak so that they can continue having dialogues within their own team meetings and build skills and change behavior and keep the focus on the team priorities. You can also initiate weekly huddles. So every Monday morning, for example, the team gets together and the champion team can lead this and simply ask the question, what did we do last week to improve our climate? What can we do this week? Celebrate successes, recognize one another, provide feedback, both positive and constructive. Take 5-10 minutes first thing Monday morning every week to focus on how the team improves. That's how sustainability is built, and that's how accountability is built, by making that a responsibility of the team. And then have them revisit their commitments to action every 4 weeks. And I'm giving you a guide for them to use to do that, okay? And then you as the HR professional, it's essential that you check in regularly with the leader, with the champion team to see how things are going, okay? So I'll be giving you all the tools that you need to get this started, including your maintaining team fitness exercise, strengthening your team climate, and strengthening your team cohesiveness. All right, so these are the 5 steps that I reviewed very quickly at a very high level for you. Once you've completed the cycle, then you repeat, and you want to assess. Every 4 to 6 months, you want to assess and bring the team back together for a more formal session. And the more you do it, the more this will become a habit within the team and just expected and part of the culture. Okay? So I want to take you directly to your tools. So at teamfitnesstool.com/5steps, you will gain all of the tools you need to start this 5-step process. And you will be able to request a demo should you want a complimentary demo of the Team Fitness tool so that you can automate this process within your own organization. Okay, I want to thank you very much for joining me today. If you have any questions or want a demo of the tool, please give me a call or contact me at the information on your screen. I wish you all the very best. Have a wonderful day.